just hang out.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, dude. I was looking to see if you were playing Overwatch, Quack, because we had a 5 stack going right before.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
dang.
tons of Overwatch lately, man.
Yeah, I've noticed you've been on all the time.
I've been playing it for like 2 weeks now. I'm in the like level 40, 42, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Damn. You're climbing up fast. I think I'm only at like 100 and something, and I've had it forever. Near launch.
Yeah.
It's just one of those games that's good to like pick up here and there because you always know your hero and kind of like what you're supposed to do with them.
Yeah. I've been maining Orisa, so everybody loves me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love playing with Orisas because it means that I can play off tank and play either Hog or Diva or Zarya.
Yeah.
Especially with the pull, like if somebody can lift the people up over like another Orisa shield or up out of a Rhine shield,
Yep.
and just melt them down.
I'm getting pretty good at that. The pulling orb thing.
Yeah.
It's dope. All right, cool. We are live. I'm going to start recording.
All right.
In case.
Give me just a sec here.
Okay. Our show notes always seem so long, but it's not really.
No, they usually go quick.
Yeah. I might throw in random bullshit after the intros this week. Because it was rough getting news together. I was like, nothing happened.
Yeah. It's definitely been one of those, I don't want to say lull periods, but
yeah,
everybody's kind of like doing their own thing. And I mean, one of the other things too is like right now like it's summertime and I'm not focused ton on like playing games in the summer. I play like a couple rounds before I go to bed, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to be outside more and like spending time with my son. Last week was fucking rough though. Oh my god, that plague that came in with I don't know what. Holy hell.
Daycare, man. It's probably some anti-vaxxer, huh?
Who the fuck knows?
Did your kid get measles?
No, they require vaccination at the place we go. That was one of the things my wife made sure of. She's like, "You're not letting these fucking weirdos in, right?"
Right. Yeah, and I, on the other hand, complete opposite. All I do is work, sleep, and play video games. Like I've got 2 level 25 characters in EverQuest, and then another one that's like level 11. I'm playing a shit ton of Overwatch.
Damn, killing it.
I just put on like TV while I play EverQuest because it's like a more chill game. You don't have to be as active or concentrate as hard.
Yeah, I like games like that.
Yeah. So, and I've got a tank, a healer, and then a conjurer. So I went berserker. People were like, "Yo, put on a shield." I'm like, "I'm a berserker." No. They're like, "But I can't heal you." I'm like, "Just watch." And then they can heal through. I don't need a shield. It's like, I told you. I gain aggro by dealing a lot of damage. That's the point of this class. I do have a shield, though, in case the healer sucks.
Well, you got to carry the, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love dungeon crawling in that game because that's why I started as a healer and I was like, these tanks are pissing me off. So I went with the tank this time around, and I know the dungeons really well. It's like someone was like, I don't know how to go because I was leaving and someone else was taking over, and I was like, follow the right wall. And he's like, what? And I'm just like, just always follow the right wall and you'll get to like everything you need to in the dungeon. It's like, oh.
Actually, a technique for solving mazes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Usually it's a loop too in the dungeon, so if you do that, you'll end up back at the beginning and you just go again. So, pretty good.
Indeed.
You ready, Scott?
Let me make sure I'm recording. Oh, don't give me this goddamn shit.
I always I tell people we do a pre-show and it takes us forever to get going, so we can get like, there's like certain pre-show rituals. Like Scott's probably got a story where he's gonna swear a whole lot and talk about wanting to kill somebody, and then
I mean that's yeah.
and then there's you know, if Scott is setting up, he'll talk, but his like thought pattern is slowed down because he's like splitting his focus. You could tell he's like switching between what he's saying and what he's like looking at. So you got to get that out of the way, and then he's good.
And then lately, the latest newest thing is for some reason my audio recording software doesn't start, so I need to restart it.
Oh, like Discord did to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been doing that thing. I'm like, why? Why are you a thing, QuickTime?
All right. Oh yeah, and we don't do the TWAB anymore. Unless like Destiny's in the general gaming news, then we don't really talk about it. I mean, if we're playing it, we'll talk about it, but no one's really playing it. So
the dream.
I'm actually, this is something I was talking to Big Bear about last night, not to get too deep into it before we like get into the show, but I'm wondering how Destiny 3 is actually going to do, because pretty much everybody that I know has kind of like stepped back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's doing either PvP and nothing else, or Gambit and nothing else, or like they go back and they do the strikes and they're like, all right, I did my weeklies, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and being that like two of the like big general what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the podcasts that are the easiest to find and sort of get people into the whole community aspect of Crucible Radio and
DCP.
No, it's not. Well, DCP, they're doing like an installment thing, right? Like they're on and off.
No, they just have like two podcasts now: the Destiny one and then like an other games one.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they were doing like every so often. No, Crucible Radio's done, and then they're doing like a new show. It's totally different. And then like Guardian Radio quit over the winter.
Yeah.
And those are like the two main things that got me into like the whole community and everything else. I mean, Ghost Stories too, but they've been gone for a while.
Well, and a lot of podcasts in like our little section of the community are just kind of embracing what they what all the like other things that they talk about. Like the only one that's still
branching out.
The only one that still really talks Destiny is Potato Thumbs. You know, Anti-Meta is just like the people in the movie. Just Some Guardians is like more similar to ours, just more they're more thematic, I think.
Right.
Yeah, we've all kind of like split into like, and we basically cover everything across like 4 podcasts in this little.
Right.
But a Distinguished Gentleman stopping too, that's crazy.
They stopped completely, right?
They've got one more episode, and this one they just released had the Lupos on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they just stopping because they don't have time, or?
Nah, I mean,
everybody's just kind of like going opposite ways.
Yeah, it seems like. So.
I can see that. It's tough, man. It's tough to keep up with it. Like, I like doing this weekly thing, but if I had to do like anything else, you know, if we were still like hyper Destiny focused, I really wouldn't have much to talk about most weeks, you know.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about doing the news is you don't have to be playing it to talk about it.
Right.
So. There was a cool talking point at some point in here. Yeah, Laz asked a question about it, so I threw a question in the middle of the news section.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, let's clap.
All right.
And we'll clap again at the end. All right, on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, dope. You ready, Scott?
I am ready.
Okay.
I'm just going to switch back to the notes so I can follow along.
Hello, listeners. This is BarelyADS, the show where we shoot from the hip. We are coming at you live from twitch.tv/BarelyADS. I'm Xanafan711, and with me this week, we've got Slapshot Scott and special guest, I make him Quack. What's up, dudes?
What is up, my doggy?
How's it going, man?
It's going well. It's going well. Talking before the show about playing a lot of games versus not really a lot of games. And apparently Scott is, like how beer can be, Nips, a seasonal gamer.
I mean, I'm still playing, but it's like I said, right now I'm like still neck deep in a project at work, plus all my regular work, and then on top of that, I've got like the Jeep thing going on, and it's summertime outside, so every chance I get that I'm off of work and it's nice outside, I want to get outside with my son, take him to the playground, which, by the way, I'm sure other people can confirm this. I know Ben would be able to if he was here this week, but it's really funny. We live in like a really nice area, and it's kind of like a rural suburb, like really nice rural suburb. So like
humble brag.
Playground. Not really, man. We pay for it. Trust me, we do pay for it, and but it's like 5 minutes from where I work, 5 minutes from where my wife works. So it's one of those things where we're like, we're saving what we're spending in rent, we're saving in gas money.
There you go.
So it's funny because like I'll go to the playground with my son on like the days that I'm off shift, and it's always these like soccer moms and golf dads. They got like their golf shorts on, their boat shoes, and like they're dressed nice, and then I show up in like this bright orange Jeep with camo shorts and like heavy metal t-shirt, and they're just like, what the fuck is this guy doing here?
Yep, you're the fun dad.
Oh yeah,
in a sea of J. Crew.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna talk to Quack personally in a little bit, but I want to let you know this week's Band of the Week is brought to you by the movie Parallel Lines. Parallel Lines, it's the world's most tragic love story because the two lines will never meet.
That's bad.
These just keep getting better. I love it.
Oh my god. That band is Southpaw Sonata. You can find them at, you guessed it, southpawsonata.bandcamp.com. If you want your band on the show, send us an email. Send it to barelyadestinyshow@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at BarelyADS. Jump in the Discord. And where can you get in that Discord? Where can you find the link? Our website, barelyads.com. Also, we have two big asks. Get in the Discord, play games with us, tell a friend about this podcast. And then also, if you wouldn't mind, I guess it's 3 asks. Search BarelyADS on YouTube and drop a subscribe so we can get that /BarelyADS there too. And then if you want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/BarelyADS or dropping us an iTunes review. 5 stars only, please.
And we will review your review if you give us a 5-star review. So review that.
The podcast within a podcast reviewing your review. So Quack's here.
Are we back to the 90s with the meta humor? Or...
I don't know. We're just going with it.
Probably.
Just going with it.
It's all cyclical, and it's time for the 90s to make their comeback, if you ask me. It's been the 80s for so long.
Oh, man. Can we get back to like skateboarding and punk rock? Because that was an awesome part of the 90s. I love that.
I mean, if tech decks are coming back, then perhaps that's happening already.
I was going to say Ben's got that covered. That's more like the late 2000s, though.
Yeah. All right. So Quack is joining us for the second time on Bads Proper, third time altogether. How you been doing, man?
I've been doing well. Been doing really well. Just, playing games. Starting to get back on Twitch a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's twitch.tv/I make 'em quack.
Yes, indeed, it is. I make 'em quack, and it's EM.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, like if you've been listening for a while and you know this already, but we met Quack through, well, Scott met Quack through the Ghost Stories Slack date. That was a Slack base, right?
That
Yeah.
was way back. Quack actually was one of the dudes who helped me in Destiny 1 when I didn't have a clan or a home. He was one of the guys I'd regularly play with. And I told the story last time, but I'll tell you again, it's so fucking funny. I was trying to get something, I think it was a mountaintop quest done. And in D1, and I couldn't get. They had just changed the meta from whatever it was to like, not auto impulse rifles, and I was getting outshot left and right because I'm terrible at PvP. And Quack's just like, yeah, don't worry, just just follow me. Okay. He's like, So he's going through in like year 3. Everybody's 330 plus. He's like one tapping people with Thorn and just running past them, like year 1 Thorn. And he's letting me pick up the like, he's giving me the assist basically. And it's the funniest thing because there was, didn't you get hate mail from that at one point?
Probably. I think it was something about like couldn't even finish anybody off. I was like, "You got me. Sorry."
Yeah, it was.
Did
it
you
was
die though?
Yeah, we still got you.
Yeah. Oh man.
So.
It was also the beginning of what I have come to know as like my favorite Discord rivalry between Quack and Scott. It's so funny. How did that like love through hate start? Because it's obviously all in fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just started because we were playing a fair bit of Crucible together, and the trash talk just kind of bled over, and trash talk seemed to get us both kind of going and enjoying the game mode. Like, who's gonna have the most kills this one, or who's gonna get the most captures, or can I follow you around and just steal all of your kills and let you know about it?
I'm gonna use you as a body shield.
Yeah, we actually had some really good DGS fire teams in those days too. Like, I still remember some of the old Iron Banners for like D1. It was like me, Quack, DW McD, Daughter Judy, and Renegade Siggy. And we just go in there, and it was just like, oh, it was ridiculous, man. It was so fun. And then there was a time. Remember, I think we took you through Vault of Glass, Steve. And it was Quack and DW were. It was me and DW and like everybody else on a team in Crucible afterwards versus Quack and Siggy, and they beat us like horribly.
Sounds familiar. Yeah. So I mean,
it was funny though.
I hadn't been playing shooters for very long at all at that point, but now.
No, you had just started. I think that was because that was like D1 right after taking King. They hadn't like brought the old raids up yet. We were still running like 270 Vault of Glass.
Yeah. Good times. So you said you've been streaming a little bit more. What kind of things have you been streaming?
Lately it's been actually Destiny 2 because I'm kind of getting right back into it for the next season, so I can see what's going on with Opulence. On the weekends, in the mornings, I usually stream a little bit of Rocket League because it's like a good chill morning game. I was playing Rocket Arena today. Which
talk about that.
So it's just on the beta today, but it's a arena shooter that is super cartoony, but it's 3v3 and everything is projectile based. There's no hit scan weapons. And then each of the different, characters or whatever, because it's a hero type shooter, kind of like Overwatch, has different primary fires, alternates, and whatever. And the goal of the game to get kills as you damage on people, it's kind of like Smash, where they build up their like KO meter and they lose more and more control in the air. And so eventually you can pop somebody up in the air and then track them and shoot them out of the arena before they come flying back down.
Nice. So it's like Smash meets Halo Rockets meets Overwatch.
Yeah, Pretty much.
It sounds like it's got some Smash Bros. Elements to it. It's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, and every
Heck yeah.
character has some sort of mobility or defensive move. So
Nice.
being able to move around the arena pretty quickly feels good, especially in those, I mean, 3v3 maps. It's got to be pretty small and tight in
Mhm.
order for it to not feel empty.
Also, to have like a central point where you want to stay as opposed to being launched.
Yeah. But it's cool because everybody can rocket jump as well. So lots of verticality, lots of like trying to read someone's movement in the air and shoot them out of the air. A lot of aerial to ground and aerial to aerial battles.
Yeah.
It's a pretty neat game.
Dope.
It reminds me a little bit in the aerial portion of like Lawbreakers back when that was a thing
Oh, I never
for
played
all
that.
of like 2 weeks. That one got a really bad rap, but I thought it was a fun game. It definitely had its problems, but it had a lot of like 0G zones where you would either fire your gun behind you to accelerate, or you could kind of move through the air to have air-to-air combat
Yeah.
as a first-person shooter.
Yeah, dude. That's dope. Is it an open beta?
I think so. I've got a couple keys if anyone really wants them.
Heck yeah, I want to try it out.
You know where to find me in Discord or whatever. And I think it runs through the next week.
Okay.
As far as I know, it was open. You had to like sign up or whatever, but then they just sent you an email with a couple Steam keys and said, "Hey, have fun."
Dope. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Playing
Yeah.
anything else?
Been playing Overwatch with you, Apex Legends, just because
Yes.
Respawn can do no wrong in my eyes.
All right. Oh, that
Goddamn
reminds
right.
me. There's the Elmer Fudd Community Tournament is tomorrow. Are you free at 9 Eastern? We need a third.
Maybe I'm not
You
sure.
can get back
what
to
my
me
schedule
later.
looks like. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know where to find you on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
You totally should, man. He hit me up last night, and I'm like, dude, my work schedule is a disaster. Like, I can't even commit to anything
Yeah.
as far as like games and stuff goes because I got stuff that comes up left and right, and I'm still catching up from last week. So,
Right. And we got to get Scott a PC because like playing the games with the boys, like we just been bouncing around to everything, and it's so much fun. And if it's something like Division, we've been power leveling people through. Like we got Jay halfway to 30 in like 3 hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's just
that's
ridiculous.
nuts, man.
Yeah, it's like we're just playing everything right now. It's been a ton of fun. Scott, what have you been playing?
Well, I played a little Destiny last night with Big Bear and my clan mates. We were doing the weekly
Nice,
PvP
nice.
bounties, and oof, it was a dumpster fire, man. I feel bad for Shax and our site. They're sitting there trying to hold down the Crucible and Destiny like it's something, and they're just like, guys, we need more power. These fucking servers are potatoes. They're awful. We had teleporting everything. It was bad. Bear got kicked off like out of the match at one point. There was a point where like he disappeared, and I'm like, "What the fuck just happened?" He goes, "Yeah, I just got shotgunned by a warlock who was there and then not there." And it's not like blink shotgunning D1. Like this dude
Right.
straight up just disappeared and then reappeared across the map.
It's that peer-to-peer, man. That doesn't happen in
Dude.
Overwatch.
I feel like it's gotten fucking worse. And we were talking about this. We're like, did they do something to servers or something? Like, did something change? Did they like reconfigure a bunch of stuff? Did somebody plug the wrong cable?
I wonder
at the wrong end?
I wonder if it's population related. Like I have no idea what the population right now is in Destiny.
Right.
But
Yeah.
It's interesting. I wouldn't. That's actually something I hadn't considered. Right.
Yeah.
Because like Destiny's population right now, it's coming up on the next season within the next like week or so, right? So it's probably
2 weeks
in a bit of a lull.
Yeah.
It's probably in like a bit of a lull, right? Like everybody's kind of waiting, like, yeah, I'll get back in and start doing bounties and stuff, but I'm not gonna go super hard. And that would make a lot of sense because now it's like trying to string everybody together from different spots. Now the flip side of that is I've been back to Titanfall 2, of course, which is another game
Yeah.
that Quack and I talk about constantly in Discord because I fucking love that game.
All right,
I
I'll tell you
love
what,
that game
Scott.
so much.
Let me know next time it's on sale under $10, and I will 100% pick it up and play through that story.
Dude, it's the story alone is so good, but like the PvP of it is just insane. And like playing
Mm-hmm.
that, I want to say I played that Monday or Tuesday because that was the first day I was like, I think it might have been Tuesday actually, yeah, because it was that was the first day I was like not sick, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else was in my
Yeah.
house. So I played that after my son went to bed, and it was just like, it's Titanfall. You're running on walls, you're shooting stuff, you're using the grapple and swinging around. Then you call in your big giant robot and Gatling gun everything in front of you to death. It's wonderful. Um, it's the game it came out in 2016, right? Everything is super smooth, fluid. I
Yeah.
have not run into a connection issue, and that this game is 3 years old. I've never been from a mid match. I've never been, um, like, oh shit, I lost. I shouldn't have lost that. Like in Destiny, like we were talking about the disappearing shotgun on Warlock or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of everything else, like I've never actually had any real issues. It's just
Mm-hmm.
flawlessly smooth, and it's both in like the way the game looks and plays on console, and the way that you're like the gameplay of it, right? So the mechanics are fluid, the graphics are fluid. You're not running into connection issues, and this is a game that came out in 2016. So I was just playing that on like Monday, and then like Wednesday going to Destiny, and it was just like, oof, this is rough, man.
And Titanfall 2 is one of those games that did so many things outside of just the gameplay flawlessly, like the user
Yeah.
experience, that
Mm-hmm.
you don't see in a lot of games, and it should be seen in more. Like in Destiny, being able to make your own playlist for PvP like you can in Titanfall 2 would
Yes.
be amazing, because it just sets all of the game modes in front of you, and it says
Mm-hmm.
you can pick which game modes you want to queue up for, and we will queue you up for all of those game modes at the same time. So
And
then you don't have the problems of quick play has Clash and Supremacy, and everybody hates Supremacy, and the 10 people who love it are like, well, now I only get to see it
yeah,
once a month or once every other month.
Yeah.
You just don't put it in your search. It's just there and available for you.
Yeah.
that's actually amazing because I didn't even think of that. You're right. Because my like de facto PvP list, I never do pilots only list because I fucking love giant robots and blowing things up with them. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's funny too because like right now, and which the other interesting thing too is like the player population for Titanfall 2 being the game that it is and how it kind of got snubbed because it got like rolled over by the I think it was Battlefront and Call of Duty that came out at the same time as that. So it was like
Mm-hmm.
two huge releases. It kind of got swept aside. The player population is still pretty decent because I'm not waiting more than 5 minutes to get a match, right? Like
Yeah.
That is nice.
even in PvP, I've got my list, and you'll get like private, not private match invites. You'll get private match invites from people in the lobby, but you'll also get like invites from people who are looking for teams, right? And
Yeah.
it'll show you what they're looking to play. Um, so anytime I see somebody who's got like pilots only, and then like I think it's like a battle arena mode for pilots only, and there's something else. I'm just like, yeah, nah, you can go.
Yeah.
Have fun with that shit. I'm here for the giant robot combat, please. Um, so there's that, and then like I play a lot of Frontier Defense too. That's usually what I warm up with, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically like Horde mode, 6 rounds, super fun. Usually, you get people who know how to handle themselves, and that's pretty awesome. Um,
Yeah.
I got in a lobby last week that was just pathetic. I think they were all new people or something. It was rough. Um, we lost the harvester on like the third round, and it was burned our tries. I'm like, damn, dude, because it goes.
Yeah.
I think it's what 6 rounds or something like that.
I think it's 6. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so we didn't even get out around 3. Whereas normally, I'm easily making it through rounds with, both retries left and stuff. And I mean, it's not hard. Like usually the point you got to defend is like in a choke point. So you just said,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Overwatch
I
does that
mean,
a lot too. Choke point,
yeah,
yeah, which is
dude,
nice.
I just stand there with my fucking Legion with the Gatling guns spawn up, waiting for anything to come in front of me and just lay into it.
Hell yeah. Um, yeah, I've been playing a bunch of EverQuest. I just throw The Office on my laptop and then play EverQuest. I don't care if I end up harvesting materials for like 2 hours. So just like it's a really chill game to just get in there. We've got 3 characters, so it's a little crazy. But aside from that, it's just been all Overwatch, and uh, there's the 3-year anniversary events happening right now,
Oh
and
Yeah.
wow.
yeah, it's dope.
Has Overwatch only been out for 3 years? I feel like it's been way longer.
I
Yeah,
guess it's only been 3 years.
wow.
3 years.
Yeah.
They've
So
got a ton of like they've got a league, they've got Overwatch League and everything. It's
mhm.
only been 3 years.
I
I
mean,
still that like blows my mind.
you get a group of buds together that are playing it all the time. It is the most fun. Like it's seriously ridiculously fun just working together as a team, because something that it does that I feel like Destiny could do as well is like you've got different roles, and like within those roles, there's tanks and then there's off tanks that deal a little bit more damage, and then there's support that are more tanky, there's ones that can deal damage, there's ones that are pure heals and things like that. So like the variety that you have at your fingertips is just insane. And that's I think that's something Destiny could definitely pull to like diversify the classes more.
Hmm.
Would help the replayability of the game quite a bit, especially
I
if
think
I really like the idea that someone had recently of like one guardian and you can just swap between the 3 classes and subclasses or whatever. So like you could just you're the same character, you just switch to the different abilities.
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So
The other thing that, go ahead.
no, that was it.
I was gonna say the other thing that Overwatch does really well that I feel like Destiny started to get back with Forsaken
Mm-hmm.
is they have really, really tight synergies with the characters they create. Like with the abilities that you have, it creates a very defined play style of this is what you're supposed to do and here's the loop that you're supposed to do to have fun. Whereas
Yeah.
Destiny has a problem of everything feels kind of the same
Yeah.
with slight variations on it. And I feel like it lost a little bit of the like soul that it had in Destiny 1. And some of that I think has to do with movement, just because that's the ability that you
Yeah.
interact with the most,
Yeah.
Yep.
where taking away things like Warlock surfing and the like, where you actually had to get the timing down on your Titan skating or hunters being able to accelerate off the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Those were things that made you feel distinct as a different class that kind of
Yeah.
got lost in translation.
Yeah. For sure.
It's it's that's actually an interesting thing because there's a handful of stuff like we were talking about this last night, and I was thinking about it this week, like why Destiny feels so weird. It's not just the economy of it. It's like new season drops and like we used to have our fire teams all ready to go the day of. We're like, oh, we're gonna
Yeah.
get home from work, we're getting on, we're gonna fucking bust that campaign. It's gonna be good times. We're gonna go and check out the new Crucible maps. Play some Gambit when that like
Mm-hmm.
was coming out. And now it's just like everything is tied to like a weird quest, so it's in a strange spot, and you just get like a screen of text. You don't get like a cutscene. You don't go talk to a character or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of an odd thing. You're like, man, this is weird. So like, I feel like that's part of something that got lost as well. I know that a lot of like just playing, you know, the different um, classes and subclasses. It was definitely uh, one of those things where like, if I was gonna go play like, try to solo a Nightfall or something, I was going
Mm-hmm.
Striker with double lighting. Whereas now it's kind of like, well, I can do that, but it's still not gonna like, it's not gonna be as potent as it was before.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, and to bring it back to Overwatch, this is what I was getting at, is that it requires you to select your, like, it doesn't matter if you've got 6 Titans or like 2 and 2 or what, but in Overwatch you have to have a balanced team between the tanks, the healers, and the damage, or else you're gonna lose. And to like do that within the game and like you have to work together as a team or you're going to lose. There's no just go in and slay. It's all objective based. It's all and I think Destiny could benefit with an objective based thing. Like, give us capture the flag. That would force us to work together as a team. And you know, or Rift even, that forced people to work together as a team.
So fun.
I want to do a Rift tournament so bad.
I love Rift. It's funny too because like just in like that's what it is, right? That's what it is. Overwatch forces you to make that choice and that commitment to your play style. Like even if you play multiple characters and you know you have like a favorite or whatever, it's like, okay, so this match I'm playing a healer, I gotta stick to being a healer and do my job so my team wins. Whereas Destiny, they like don't want to pigeonhole you, but at the same time, you know, it's like the lack of a decision makes it the wrong decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's move on into this news. Oh yeah, the last thing about Overwatch is that there's a bunch of new skins and things like that, and there's like a thick May sexy skin. Oh, it's great. Look it up. It's she's wearing like short shorts.
Oh god.
Yeah, that's good. But so Tencent is the company that Bungie took $100 million from, the Chinese company. Apparently, they own Riot Games, and they're making a mobile version of League of Legends. And this is from Cecilia D'Anastasio at Kotaku. And Tencent's owned Riot since 2015. And I didn't know this until today.
Owns them.
Yeah, Riot has only ever made League of Legends. That's it. Nothing else. So like for them to be as huge of a studio as they are and to only have made that one game is incredible. So to have a Chinese mobile game that's based on League of Legends too, so much money. So much money.
Well, you'll continue to see more and more games shift towards the mobile market just because the share of the market is so huge, because there are so many people that play on a mobile device.
Yeah, the install base
in the US,
is way bigger.
But then it's huge in China and in a lot of places where there's much better public transportation, because if you're not driving for an hour a day but you're on the tube for an hour a day, like not a ton of things. That's why you can take a Nintendo or can take, you know, your phone, and if you can get on League of Legends, that's going to give them a huge base of players to add in.
Right.
And once you get somebody hooked and paying even $5 every couple months, like that's $5 that you're getting for a product you've already created.
Right. And League specifically would be well suited on a mobile device because it already uses movement similar to Diablo. You just touch the screen and your character goes there. Touch the enemy and he attacks. And then you've got your abilities or whatever. They just make those a little bigger. But yeah, the mobile market is, and I imagine that's exactly why the Switch sold better in Japan than a PS4 did. Because it's out, the Switch outsold. We talked about it a week or two ago. The Switch outsold the PS4 in Japan, and there's a lot more commuting out there, so that makes a ton of sense to me. Not to mention that Nintendo's Japanese. Well, I guess Sony's Japanese too, right? So
yes,
I don't know.
I believe so.
But yeah, so Riot with more League of Legends, I guess. Then there's this cool little portable device. The article is the black and white portable console of the future. Richard Lawler at Engadget. And it looks kind of like a Game Boy. It's a tiny yellow Game Boy thing.
Oh, that's funny.
From, it's called Playdate by software developer Panic, who made Transmit and Firewatch. It
Okay.
it's got a flip out crank that acts as an analog controller. It's on the right side, so like I don't really understand. It's not backlit. Um, and they're doing something weird. It's like a subscription device, kind of. So games are going to arrive in seasons of 12, and the games are going to be released one per week without any announcement of which one is going to come next. And they've only gotten one game announced for it so far. It's called Kranken's Time Travel Adventure from the creators of Katamari Damacy. Um, so yeah, it's just like a little indie box portable thing,
Hmm.
and
That's interesting.
yeah, it's coming out next year. It's going to be $150. That's not bad.
Hmm.
Like that's a good price for what that is. So you could get a new indie game to try every week. And if the console itself is $150, I can't imagine like a season of games is going to cost that much.
Yeah. That's
It's gotta be
super
fairly simple
interesting.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I assume it would be a fairly simple, if the control interface is that like rudimentary, you know, where it's got like a crank and a couple other things. Like, it's got to be pretty simple, which will maybe allow it to have people like develop different sort of um, games for it. You know, different independent games, or whatever.
Yeah. And like that first one being from the creators of Katamari, that's a huge deal. Like Katamari's a very fun, simple game. So
Yeah.
like that's the perfect kind of console for it. Um, let's see. And speaking of like indie games, THQ Nordic has nearly 50 unannounced games in development. This is from Fraser Brown at PC Gamer. So
Damn.
if you don't know what's been going on, THQ Nordic has been buying up IP after IP for like 2 years, just buying a bunch of shit, buying small developers, and not saying anything and not really coming out with any. I think they've released 2 games since they rebranded to THQ Nordic and started buying up all these IPs. Come to find out, they have 80 games in development right now.
Wow. What was their THQ? I remember them from back in the day. What was their like big game? Can't place it.
THQ's been they're I mean they're like an Activision. They're a publisher. So like the only things that I can really think of is they published a lot of the wrestling games back in the day.
Maybe that's what it was. Because I remember seeing that come up on the screen of something that I
Mhm.
played on like, PS1 or something, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was
Yeah.
possibly a motocross game. I don't know.
Yeah. It just kind of seems like the kind of IPs they've been buying, they're not like indies, they're not like triple A's. So it seems like THQ Nordic is trying to develop a monopoly on double A games. I wouldn't be surprised if they release a ton of stuff at $40, or $30. Um, that are like good games. They're just not your big huge AAA $60 games. So I'm really interested to see what they're doing and if it's gonna work, because so far it seems like they've been spending a ton of money, and like all they've really released is crap, what was that game called? It was like the third installment of something. Anyway, if you know, leave it in the comments. Moving on to talk about another game, we got a question from Laz. He wants to know, what are your thoughts on the crossplay of the new game Dauntless? And what he's talking about is Dauntless came out yesterday. This from this from Dave Thier at Forbes. It's like a cartoony Monster Hunter game without the like super complex Monster Hunter systems. But the big news about it is fully supports crossplay between Xbox, PC, and PS4, and it's not even like the craziest thing about it is no one's talking about it. This is like the third fully crossplay game that we have.
They don't want you to know about it.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy.
I really like this, and this is one of the things that I really hope we see more of moving forward, especially with games like Destiny,
Mm-hmm.
where there
Oh
may
god,
be a
yeah.
decent sized player base, but being able to bring them all into one place helps alleviate a lot of the matchmaking problems on
Yeah,
all of the systems.
Oh yeah.
exactly.
Um,
Absolutely.
and and the thing that excites me is that if Dauntless is doing this, this isn't a huge AAA game. This is a fairly small studio making a game that's been in alpha or beta for a long time. I remember trying out it feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and to see that, it's encouraging to think that, I know Apex has talked about looking into crossplay, and that would
yeah,
be another great title. Anything where being able to team up even small teams like you do in Dunks is going to really get a lot of help
yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as well with Dauntless is you can migrate your characters and your profile across the different platforms. So you can pick it up on one,
Oh god,
swap
that'd
to
be
the other. So
amazing.
it's cross play and cross progression.
That's
That would
incredible.
be fucking
Yeah.
so good.
So yeah, that would be amazing. And I know a lot of casual players wouldn't care on like the consoles because I would be one of these people if I didn't have a PC. They just want to play with their friends, you know? So like who cares if you're
Hmm.
getting
Right.
matched up against a bunch of PC people on PlayStation if you're with your friends. And like in a game like Dauntless, that's not going to matter anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And for the vast majority of games, it's not going to matter a ton. For your first person shooters, you definitely do get a little bit of an advantage by using a mouse and keyboard if you're good with it, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But most other games, especially since with a PC you can plug in a controller, they're going to play and perform pretty similarly
Yeah.
regardless.
Exactly. You might have some like mapping issues, but that's about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
No, I think this is really cool. I hope that it's really successful for them. It's something that makes it more interesting on my radar for sure.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's like I saw, well, they had a trailer at the Game Awards, right? It's not where I think I saw gameplay for this. Um, and I like was like, cool, that looks all right. I probably won't get it. It looks all right though. But now knowing that it's fully cross-play, cross-progression, I'm like, I can play this with Scott and then flip around and play it with Nips as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I could be doing it from my PC instead of using those consoles.
Yeah.
I
Having to
like,
have like 3 different accounts and be like, okay, so I got to
mhm,
level up my PC or get my PC thing all
Mm-hmm.
set and
mhm.
then get the
Well, that being said,
PS4
Scott
or whatever.
and Nips could play this game together.
Yeah.
Two people who
That would
have been
be
known each other for like years now and never played a game together. It's right.
no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you count that the couple times we did Jackbox on the bad Switch, which was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
That was a load of fun. But I mean, yeah, no, I think he's only Xbox, right?
Yeah. We're trying to
Yeah,
get it.
and
He has a gaming PC that he just doesn't use. And we're like, dude, come on. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it'd be really cool, man. I'm a fan of anything cross-platform because more or less it like pushes. Every time a game comes out and says it's cross-save, cross-platform, that
yeah.
pushes it a little bit farther into something that's to be expected, right?
Yeah.
From the next generation of games and console stuff, which then puts the pressure on people like Sony, for example, who have been blocking crossplay for
Yeah. But hey, I mean,
ever.
we're seeing more games happen like with crossplay more frequently, and then Sony and Microsoft are working together now on
Mm-hmm.
cloud gaming,
Uh,
like,
Yeah.
that's
and then
because
Nintendo.
Google's in on it, and they're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but on top of that too, like Nintendo's gonna have Xbox Live. And
Right.
they're kind of insinuating that Xbox that you'll be able to get achievements towards your Xbox gamer score through Nintendo games. So like that would be dope as well. Just if they all start working together, then people are still going to like I'm still always going to get a PlayStation if even with crossplay being a thing, I'll probably always get a PlayStation and like go PlayStation PC because that's the way I like to play. So,
Mhm.
and that's the same case for a lot of people. People are going to buy Xboxes instead of PlayStations, and now they don't have to buy all of them, but they're still going to. I mean, I don't even care if you have to buy the game for each platform. I would do that. You know, I
Yeah.
would buy Destiny 3 times if I could have cross, like I would, it would sell me an Xbox too. I'd buy another Xbox if cross progression were a thing. I just had to buy Destiny 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exciting. And Reeb in the chat was like, "It's free, right?" So I looked, and it is indeed free to play. Dauntless.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So definitely gonna get that. Um, And then this next thing is some news that we wouldn't normally talk about, but I think it asks an interesting question. So, popular streamer sues FaZe Clan over quote illegal contract, but the organization says the contract is fine. This from Nathan Grayson at Kotaku. So,
Okay.
in short, there's a professional gamer slash streamer named Tifu, and he was hired by FaZe, the esports organization, to be a creator and competitor. And Tifu's claiming that his contract sucks and he isn't making money on content he does when participating with FaZe. And then FaZe, on the other hand, is saying that no, like this is a legit contract. We're just not actually making money on these events that we're participating in. And but like that being said, I think this asks a very interesting question. Um, Esports is such a new thing, and like gaming talent is a new thing. But, like there aren't any like rules or regulations yet for it. So, what do you guys? How do you guys think this is going to play out with it being so new? Do you think we're going to head in the direction of like physical sports contracts, or do you think we're going to head more in the direction of something new? Like, do you think it's going to be more like movie contracts, or what?
I think everything evolves, over time.
Mm-hmm.
The way we've seen it so far with like esports stuff, it's been a lot of it's been kind of similar to like, professional athletes, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, pick your team sport, right?
Yep.
I think we've seen a ton of like, I don't know if it's necessarily contracts, but the same sort of structure when it comes to that. Um, this just sounds interesting because it sounds like he was hired as a competitor for
Well, it's like
a clan.
it's
Or
like how
is it like
Lupo works. Lupo is on Team Rogue, but like
okay,
he also has his own brand. So like
right?
if he's participating in a Rogue event, you would imagine he's getting paid part of like what
The
Rogue makes
money,
on that. Yeah.
right?
So and
Okay,
I think that's the aspect where there's like just
okay, yeah.
a
Because I'm trying to
problem.
figure out the way that this whole situation, this like structure of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that
I mean, and this
I
is
don't
getting
know, man.
heated. I've seen some like brutal
Yeah.
arguments on Twitter with this.
So, for me, just being kind of cynical, the way I see it is the different leagues, like when you see soccer, football, or basketball,
Mm-hmm.
um, the level that the athletes get paid is almost always directly correlated to how strong their union organization is.
Yes, that's
Uh-huh.
right. I was gonna
Because
say there's always a players association.
because right now with the esports, the different companies are not really under any sort of rules on this is what we have to guarantee in contracts,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Yeah.
also the ones writing it, and they're also the ones with the money.
Yes.
So
That's
the players are always going to be in a disadvantaged situation in this, and so I think that this first case and the first times that this comes up, it's going to largely, from a legal standpoint, go in favor of the clans or the teams simply
yeah.
because there's no bargaining power on the side of the players to structure
Right.
contracts the way
Right.
that they need them. And even when you brought up like actors, like the Actors Guild is
Yeah,
a
yeah, that's
union
the thing.
organization, and that's the reason that actors from the biggest stars to the smallest players are able to get paid. And so I think some sort of collective agreement among, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, these kind of proto athletes slash entertainers, whatever, they're going to need to find a way to get a seat at the table if they really want
Hmm.
to have these kinds of things be taken seriously and win out.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
not every like game or competitive game has a structure like the Overwatch League. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I would say the Overwatch League is probably the closest thing to what it should go in the
Right.
direction of. There's like
Yeah.
standards, like you've seen people get booted off teams for
Yeah.
misconduct,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
like
they also laid down a pretty clear like set of rules and stuff like,
yeah,
if you're going to play an Overwatch League, this is how you have to behave. This is what's expected of you. This is what's
Mm-hmm.
expected of our teams. And if they fucking step out of line, we're gonna fine them, toss them, whatever that, like, they have an agreement in place there, which is, I think, a good start for sure.
yeah,
I think that there's got to be another layer there between the individuals and the teams and stuff like that, because exactly what Quack was saying, man. This one definitely sounds like, because it's entirely possible that this clan or team or company,
hmm
FaZe, could be like not making money on these events they're putting on, because it is pretty difficult to
yeah. They're an independent esports team with
yeah.
like no league affiliation specifically. So like
Mm-hmm.
what exactly, that's kind of a gray
Yep.
area in terms of like what market are they even in.
Yeah. So how do they make their money, right?
Yeah,
It could be that they're not making any money at all, but I mean, if they can prove in court that they're making money and they're not paying this dude, like, he'll get a payday in court, but who knows how long that's going to go, and whether or not they settle, whether
yeah,
it's just going to be, it could be real nasty. So I mean, it's unlike professional sports, like Quack was saying. There's always that other layer there that's like a players organization or a players union or something like that, for the individuals that they all sort of have to belong to, and then also, they play for the league and their team. So there's multiple levels of oversight there.
yeah. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. This is so new, and like being that we all grew up playing video games, and this was like completely out of the question for the majority of our
Mm-hmm.
lives just
Mm-hmm.
to
Oh
even be a
yeah.
thing, even Twitch streaming to be a thing. Um, it's kind of cool to watch this unfold. I think the most recent experience we've had with this is American football, right? Like in the 60s and 70s. It's kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
Um,
And it wouldn't shock me if this is one of those things where we look back in X number of years and all of the, greats or really memorable people, you're looking at them and going, man, they didn't even get a retirement check. Like they're
Right.
still scraping by, and they're the ones who founded whatever it is that's being built, because it's hard to know what's going to become of this, whether it becomes, these clans or like gaming clubs or whatever. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of amorphous, and there's not like one way to do it yet.
yeah. I think it's really interesting too because like this is more of a team based esports issue that's happening right now because the fighting game community has been doing it for a long time, but that seems to be a
Oh yeah.
lot more like a
They're all individuals, though, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's more like boxing, it seems like. Or but not so much boxing because they get paid based on the fight. It's like golf. That's what it's
Right.
like. Fight. Yeah. So there's tournaments that they go to, and if they do well, they win money. So but that one's much more organized, and there's a lot of venues with that too. I think Evo just happened or is about to happen. I'll have to look into that.
The fighting game community is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The problem is
A lot
it's
of
really tough to get into because they're all like so good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's such a different style of game that
Mhm.
if you haven't learned how to play it, it's okay, even just learning how the neutral game and how like movement works within the game feels
Yep.
very different. Like if you've never played a first person shooter and then jump into the Crucible, you're going to be like, why is everyone massacring me? I don't even know what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you have to learn a brand new style of game, uh, and the skills associated with it. It's
Yeah, and each game has enough different that you
yeah,
have to have focuses. Thankfully,
yeah,
Injustice and Mortal Kombat are like the same.
yeah. It's one of those things where I've heard it described as building talent in games is like a tree where there's your specific skills that make up the branches. So that would be things like in Destiny, being able to hit a flick shot with a sniper is a soft skill that you can develop,
Yeah.
but you then have the roots, which are skills that translate everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
things like learning how to jump and move around the map
Yep.
efficiently,
Map
or
awareness.
things
Yep.
like how to find cover and get to cover. Those are things that translate to any sort of FPS game because they're
Oh
the
yeah.
roots of the tree,
Mm-hmm.
but each
Yep.
individual skill is built off of those as different branches
Yeah.
that you can develop.
And within
Yeah.
fighting games, there is the roots. It's a completely different tree, basically.
Yeah, because there's footsies and there's way more reads in fighting games than there are in like first person shooters. First person shooters are a lot of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
In fighting games is reading what your opponent's going to do, predicting and knowing the counter for it.
Yep. And like the only games I see that might be similar would be something like a Souls type game that could translate into a fighting game. Which I kind of
Especially
see
3D fighters.
yeah, I kind of see a trend with that in the like professional realm where there's like if you see someone streaming Sekiro, they probably also like fighting games. Or if someone plays what was that Ubisoft game? For Honor? And they're like good at For Honor.
Yeah.
That kind of person would be good at a fighting game. Those kind of games have similar roots, but yeah, totally different from a first person shooter for sure. But those roots in a shooter also allow you to jump from Destiny to Overwatch to Call of Duty or whatever, and still be able to handle yourself. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of funny, like, speaking of the roots of, like, a shooter, again, going from Destiny to Titanfall and back, like, there's so many things, just PvP-wise, that I learned in Destiny,
Yep.
like I said, map awareness, how to move around the map, how to get cover, how to sort of read a scenario, right? Like,
Yep.
you're not going to just run through a doorway out into an open field. Even translating across to something like Apex Legends, like, I have... The only reason I have done as well in that game as I have, and it's not great, but I mean I do all right. Even just solo queuing is because of everything that I learned in the Crucible and Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like 60 or 80 other people on the map that are, some of them aren't doing the same thing because they just played Fortnite and they're used to, building walls and other stuff. There's like other types of games, and I've just found like, the sharper you are with a lot of that sort of root stuff, the more, I guess, the farther it'll take you, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. And that translated for me, like I picked up Overwatch a couple months ago on PC, and then I'd played it a couple times on PS4, and it wasn't my jam. But having played so much Destiny, swapping over, I was able to be like average right off the bat. And that was really cool. I was like, oh, I don't suck at this game immediately. So I kind of like too that you can't really ADS unless it's a special skill. It's completely separated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Only certain characters have ADS abilities.
See, that would get to me. I got to be able to scope in, otherwise I just can't concentrate.
Well, a
Well,
lot
it's
of
a
them.
very different game because a lot of it is like sometimes with projectile characters, you're not necessarily trying to hit or zoom in or aim at somebody. You're just trying to put trash through a doorway that you know they're trying to come through, so that it's you can come through here, but you're gonna eat some damage if you come through.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Area denial.
There are not a whole lot of hit scan guns in Overwatch. I would say majority of the weapons are projectile. Yeah. So.
I think a good example of that from Titanfall.
EPG.
Yeah, I usually use the What is the pulse cannon?
The charger rifle.
Yeah, the charge rifle, the one that charges up, and then you just because every time I have to respawn and I'm coming in on the jump ship, I always look for enemy Titans, and I'm just like aiming down, charging it up, just sending as many of those bolts as I can.
Yeah.
That thing's so fun because you can snipe people with it too. And it's hit scan, and it's a one-hit kill from any range.
No shit, I didn't know that.
So if you get someone to eject and they shoot up, you can goose them with the charge rifle by like charging it and lining it up and pick them out of the air.
Nice.
Oh man, that's got to be great.
Yeah. How are the hair animations in Titanfall?
The hair animations? Yeah,
they're all wearing
not a
helmets?
whole lot of hair.
Oh man.
No luscious locks.
The reason I ask is because Frostbite's new hair technology puts Geralt's finger-licking locks to shame. This from Andy Chalk at PC Gamer. So there was like a trailer for this Frostbite hair animation thing on a super creepy. It was like a mannequin with like beautiful hair. It was really creepy, but the hair animation looked amazing. And then there were even some like quick movement scenes, like sequences where the hair would move appropriately. It's pretty dope. But the problem is the Frostbite engine has been kind of killing games because it's really difficult to work with. Mostly point to Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem specifically, who the BioWare referred to using it as like sticking your hand in razor blades or something like that.
Oh God!
Or like trying to find a needle in a haystack. What the haystack is razor blades. I don't know. It had razor blades in the description.
That is like the big problem is Frostbite's great for cutscenes, and when you make a really cool animated film, that's going to look really, really good on Frostbite. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. But as far as like actually developing a game, it seems like outside of Battlefield, which not a lot of hair effects there, it has been really unwieldy, and even just menu wise, like setting up user interface has been really tough for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem look really good. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that that engine is so difficult to work with, because I would imagine that EA would be able to license that out to a lot of people if it were easier to use.
Well, look at Unreal. Unreal is everywhere now because it's easy to pick up and use.
Yeah. And it's very diverse. Like some games come out and they're like, this isn't Unreal. It's not cartoony at all. You know?
Rocket League is an Unreal game.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so funny. There was I forget. I had that same reaction though, Steve. There was a game that I saw, wasn't even a shooter or a fighter. It was just, I don't even think there was people in it, right? It wasn't Rocket League, I know that for sure. But I saw it, and I'm like, Unreal Engine? How the fuck does that work? Like, it was like blown away that it was doing, what it was doing underneath the skin in that game. So, so weird. I'm like, I was shocked. I was like really shocked.
It'll be really interesting to see because they've started making the transition from Unreal 3 to Unreal 4 for a lot of games. So we'll see what the new engine kind of has in store in the next few years. That was one of the things that was people were curious about when Epic bought Rocket League is Epic licenses Unreal. And Rocket League is still on Unreal 3 and not Unreal 4. And so maybe on down the line they re-release it on the new Unreal 4 engine and see what you can do with that.
Right. Or I mean, what if they just make Rocket League 2 and it's exactly what a Rocket League style sequel should be, which is just like update, like leave the gameplay alone, because Rocket League is not struggling. Just update everything else. Better graphics, more skins, more maps, more, just like.
And they've done a good job with different modes too, because now there's Rumble, which has got like items and power-ups. There's like a almost volleyball mode. There's basketball. There's hockey. There's a mutator that adds curve on the ball if you hit it with spin, which is pretty neat.
That is dope, especially if you could get good with it. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what the third installment would look like with Unreal 4.
Yeah. Third. Has there been two
So there was supersonic acrobatic rocket powered battle cars on the PS3 that was like a $10 game or something that Psyonix had created.
Oh, okay.
Super small following. I never played it, but it is like, if you watch it, it is all the same stuff that Rocket League has, just it looks way less refined, way less smooth.
So Rocket League's like
are a little different,
a spiritual successor to that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That's dope.
Hey, Steve, I got a question for you about Anthem.
What's the? Oh, Anthem. Okay.
Yeah, because we were talking about this with Frostbite, and I know that was one of the main development woes. I read an article about it. I got it here on my phone. I'm trying to.
Is it the giant Jason Schreier article?
No,
from a couple months ago.
Published April 2nd by Cass Marshall on Polygon. It was talking about a lot of. I skimmed through a lot of it, but basically there's like tons of like issues with Anthem and stuff like that. And somebody,
no one's playing it anymore.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask, because when this article, like, I read it, initially one of the people who shared it in the Discord that I was in, basically said that, like, Anthem's dead. They're moving all the people who were working on Anthem to work on Dragon Age Inquisition. And
yes and no.
It wasn't like, dead game lulls type thing. It's like they're like, yeah, no, they're pulling the plug on Anthem.
That's not true. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. Basically, what happened was, after Dragon Age Inquisition came out, they moved that team to work on Anthem. After Mass Effect Andromeda came out and they stopped supporting that, they moved that team to work on Anthem. And then they pulled their team from Texas, who maintains Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO that BioWare made in 2010, I think. Very good game, by the way. That is I kept hearing when Anthem was about to come out, and this is a total rabbit trail, but the Anthem was the first massive multiplayer endeavor BioWare had done, and was like, but Star Wars The Old Republic, that game is so good. That game literally has, what is it? 8 main campaigns. 8. Wow. Yeah. So that game is huge. They moved that team from Texas up to work on Anthem. So now they split the teams back up. There's 100% a Dragon Age 4 in the works. So that team is back to working on that. The Texas team is back to maintaining Star Wars The Old Republic, as well as that's the team responsible for maintaining Anthem. That's the live service team. And then there's the third team, which everybody thinks is working on a Mass Effect game, because they've been kind of hinting at that. So now that Anthem's out and it's going to take a while, I would just imagine that they're going to receive... I'm kind of glad that it's in the Texas team's hands, because that means that there likely will be content drop that is more akin to an MMO, which is exactly what Anthem needs. But it's going to be, I wouldn't say it's dead. I'd say Anthem is in hibernation right now. I would expect a No Man's Sky style development cycle with it. So they're going to just they're going to be quiet and they're going to disappoint people, but give it 6 months to a year and Anthem might be a lot of fun to jump back into. I really hope so. The gameplay is so much fun. There's just nothing to do.
I wanted to like it. I wanted to like it so bad.
Everybody did. It did really well initially because the gameplay loop is fun as hell. There's just not anything to do.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
See, that sounds a lot more what I was like along the lines of what I was thinking, what I was assuming was going to happen. Because, like, I read that, and whoever posted it, I forget who it was. It was a friend of a coworker. Was like, "Yeah, no, they're pulling the plug on Anthem." Like, that doesn't sound right. It's been like 6 months, maybe.
We can only hope that Epic buys BioWare or Bethesda, because Bethesda doesn't seem to care what engine their developers use. How does Respawn get a pass? Because Apex isn't on Frostbite.
Respawn, I have no idea, man. All I know is that I just hope the fucking, the powers that be stay the fuck away from Respawn. Yeah. And I think now that they got Apex under their belt and they're like, yeah, no, we made you a shitload of money with Apex Legends. We get to do what we want now, right? Like, I'm hoping that gets to be a thing.
Well, they have their passion project Star Wars game coming out too, because Respawn isn't known for single player hack and slashers.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to see if it's good, because if it is, then Respawn could be in the mix for one of my favorite studios for just making great games.
The thing that'll be interesting will be the movement looks like in Star Wars, because I remember some of the really Star Wars games from when I was a kid always had crazy jumps and being able to dash through the air. The combat felt really force unleashed. You could move around great, and that's one of the things that Respawn sells at.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll be interested to see how they do that in presumably a third-person perspective.
Yeah, and if it does well, I'm gonna say it now. I think if the Star Wars: The Fallen Order does well and is a lot of fun to play, I would not be opposed to a Respawn BioWare merger. You're both responsible for the games that both you make, but you're now one team, one company with multiple teams.
That'd be interesting, just because Respawn, everything they've done has been in Source instead of Frostbite.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it's their own homebrew style game, but it's Source, so it's based off of Unreal.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's why you get a lot of the similar things with air strafing and being able to maintain momentum. Similar to ways that Counter-Strike Source had back in the day with wall surfing and stuff like that. Okay. And so they'd either need to move to Frostbite, which
nope, I hope not.
Dear God, no.
Tough.
I bet you. Well, think about think about Mass Effect on a Source engine. Then, how amazing would that be?
That'd be much nicer, because the Mass Effect that I always think back to, it was a really, really, really good story game and first-person game that just had unfortunate gameplay loops. Because, especially the first one, a lot of the combat was very clunky. It didn't feel intuitive. It was tough to get adjusted to.
Well, that was pre-EA, right? 2
was great. I believe so.
Yeah, EA forced them to polish the gameplay, because 2's gameplay loop, it was still third person, but it felt first person, and the movement in what I was getting at though is the movement in Andromeda felt really good, but it wasn't smooth. There wasn't good transitions between the abilities, and I think that's something that Respawn does very well.
Oh yeah.
So I would just like, if you can picture respawn movement in a Mass Effect game, that's what I'm dreaming of right now.
That's well, I mean, even like, what are some of the things in Titanfall that are like the movement transition things? It's like what, like grapple, slide, jumping, or something? Because I managed to do one this past week, and it was fucking insane. Like I just remember I was like flying through the air at 800 miles an hour.
So, um, yeah, the like grapple whips that you see people
Yeah,
do in Apex all the time,
yeah,
where you grapple something and you hit the point and then you look like 45 to 90 degrees
yep.
away and you strafe diagonal to the point that you are uh, like attached to, and you gain momentum in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
like with the
because
source code, you accelerate when you slide, and if you air strafe like
yeah.
left or right, you lose less momentum. So you can just slide and hop along the ground at maximum speed, flying through the levels, wall running. It's
Wow.
truly one of the best movement games.
It's fucking insane when you get it going. Like, I managed to do a little bit of a grapple whip into a wall run
Mm-hmm.
last week, and it was just like, it was so good. And the slides in Titanfall 2, you can just feel it. It goes forever. It's so funny.
One of the few games where it feels like you're playing the trailer when you are playing the game.
Yes,
Nice.
that is exactly it. You get
This
in
is
and
the
you're
cinematic
like,
trailer that I just
yes.
did.
I'm doing the thing, guys. I'm doing the thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that this hair is able to be replicated in other engines, because it looked really good, really good, like better than Horizon Zero Dawn hair.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a gorgeous game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was another
100%.
one.
And Death Stranding is on that same engine, so I would imagine that game is going to be just as gorgeous.
Shit.
Yeah. That's why the first people that have played it were Guerrilla Studios. So, all right, let's move into then our fantasy games critic update. Last week, I got 2 points for Rage 2 because it scored a 72 on OpenCritic. We also talked about how Jay, aka Gear Dad, was a little peeved because Skull and Bones got delayed, and I saw on the site today it is not coming out this year. So rip that game for Jay. No score there. But everyone was talking shit about JC Juzzy, who got auto drafted, and he had Total War 3 Kingdoms, and it scored an 83. So currently, Justin Jesse is winning with 13 points in the Fantasy Games Critic League. So I've been saying it. I think his team's actually really good.
Sneaky good.
Sneaky good. I'm just really hoping that my late Nintendo games come through, and that both of them come out this year like they're supposed to. Being well, no, Jay has Pokemon, so it's not that one. But I have Animal Crossing. I kind of feel like I want to play Pokemon more, but I'm pretty sure Animal Crossing is going to score better than Pokemon.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It's been way longer since an Animal Crossing game has come out, and nostalgia's pretty strong.
Yeah. Someone has Luigi's Mansion 3, and I have a feeling that game is going to score incredibly well as well.
The first two were both really, really well received.
Yeah. But, I mean, if Nintendo ports a game to 3DS, it did well. And they ported Luigi's Mansion to 3DS. All right, dope. You guys want to do some listener questions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we don't have many, but first I got to tell you, these listener questions were brought to you by, you guessed it, Cosmodrome Vodka.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. And this week at Cosmodrome Vodka, we're absolutely teeming with excitement. New content is only a few weeks away, which means more opportunities to take that content, run it through our writers' fucked up brains, and spit out shitty vodka ideas. The season of opulence is nearly upon us, and we thought this would be the perfect time to visit the Leviathan, since no one has been there since we made a last wish last September. Armed with vodka bottles and internet maps of the Leviathan underbelly, we scoured the mysterious ship for ingredients and came back with something sinister. Introducing our overly opulent vodka, so named because we distilled a Lost Sector-sized batch for your consumption. A sinister mix of purple goo, royal bath water, and royal flower pollen was added to our signature vodka via Siva nanites from the Outbreak perfected to create an overly repulsive vodka that's bound to make you wonder whether it tastes better than Steel Reserve or not. That might have been the longest sentence I've ever read ever. It didn't need to end, so bravo for a really long sentence. As a special bonus, we'll be delivering these bottles to a store near you with the secret Outbreak ship discovered in the old tower. The denizens of Reddit seem to hate the ship, but we think it looks grand and fantastic. Plus, it's big enough to seat you and 50 pallets of vodka. Just remember, no drinking and flying. Just because you can be resurrected an infinite number of times doesn't mean everyone in the cosmos can be. And remember, Guardians, in Cosmodrome Twab, Bungie nerfs you. There we go.
They really do go out like, yeah, they just go all out for those.
Yeah. Cosmodrome vodka. That's fantastic. All right, so Exterminator, who's the other gator, if you were wondering, wants to know, would you rather visit 100 years in the past or 100 years in the future?
Does it have to be exactly 100 years?
I mean, that's what he said, so yes.
What happens if the future doesn't exist?
I mean, there will always be a future. It's just, pretty much everyone you know is probably dead. Maybe everybody's dead.
So it's like that episode of Futurama where they just sat in the time machine and it kept going and going and going?
Yeah, until they got to the end of time.
Yes.
Yeah, multiple times. Hey, he just showed up in chat, too, right in time for his question.
You'd go in the future? I don't know.
Yeah.
What was 1919?
The Great Depression, so fuck that. I'm going to the future.
No, that was in the 30s.
Yeah, that was the 30s.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
the 30s.
That was
1919, that's like Gilded
World War I.
Age, World War One.
Flappers, that's when women started to get sexier.
Flappers are the 20s. Flappers are the 20s, Steve.
I mean, we're a year away. I bet it started happening before the 20s.
You gotta go like decades, though. Right? You gotta go by decades.
I'm still going to the future because if we're just visiting, I'm buying a sports almanac just like Back to the Future, and I'm bringing it back with me so I can get rich quick.
Didn't you see Endgame, though? It doesn't work like that.
That's in that universe. I don't agree. All right, if you really, really think about the Endgame time paradox, it's bullshit. That's the only thing that Marvel has fucked up was time travel to this point.
Are you a foremost expert in the field of traveling through time?
I am a big fan of sci-fi, time travel, and consciousness stuff. And I wholeheartedly disagree with your future's your future no matter what. So
yeah, but if you think about it, you can't, like, that means somebody could go back and erase you if it's not. You know, Futurama did the same thing. There's always the time travel paradox. They talked about this. And so, like, that's why whenever there was a time travel clone, it had to die. And
yeah,
if you watched the Futurama movie about this,
I'm just saying that if you alter the past, it will alter the future, not just create a different timeline. And that's the kind of vibe that I got from Endgame. It's totally, I love that we can talk about Endgame time travel and not spoil the movie necessarily, because it's obvious time travel happens in that movie. But yeah, I just totally disagree with, like, as long as we put things back to where they belong, nothing changes in the future. No, disagree. Sorry about it.
Yeah, I don't know about that part of it. I think no matter what happens back, if you go back to the past and change anything, the Endgame time travel paradox it made more sense to me than some of the other ones.
It makes sense within that story, but as a like when compared to other time travel scenarios, it doesn't. That's my stance. So yeah, I'd go to the future and buy a sports almanac.
I think I'm going to the past and getting like diphtheria or something.
Quack's like, huh? What's the most awesome way to die in the past?
Is that so you can come back as an anti-vax kid?
Yeah, dude. Well, that and like, I already know if I'm going into the past where big, exciting things are going to happen, so I know I can die there. It's always going to go down. Like, whoever was giving a speech and some dude ran on stage and died of diphtheria. Like, you're in the history books.
Yeah. Which is something I do agree with the Marvel time travel scenario, is that if you are in the future and you go back to the past and you die in the past, you still exist for all that time that you existed. That I did like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Looper. You got to close your loop.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question from Naran G. He says, if we're being honest, how much Scott brings up Gray Fox and Sire, when will they make an appearance on BADS?
Somebody's gonna have to convince him. We'd have to actually change a recording night because
I was thinking it would be a lot of fun if the three of you plus me and Ben did an Is This What You Want?
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that would work because, like,
it'd be like me and Ben interviewing the three of you.
right? It's the thing is though, like, it's time wise, it's scheduled, right? Like I was just talking to Gray Fox the other day. He's in trying to close out. I think I lost track of where he is with his MBA. He's like second or third year. This is in addition to working full time. He's like remodeling the house that they just bought, and he also trains for like triathlon. So he's like, he's busy as fuck. And,
well, we'll just have to plan something. We can make it work.
Yeah, that would, dude. That would actually be, if we're not like recording for a regular BADS proper episode and schedules up in the air, I think we could definitely work something out. Because in addition to their fucked up schedules, it's my fucked up schedule. So it's all like
all trouble.
Yeah, it's a ton of trouble.
All right. Next question from Dosey. And Ben, he put in a pronunciation this week. So when you don't listen back later, it's Dosey. He wants to know, do you wash your legs in the shower?
Why wouldn't
Is this
you?
a trick question? Where else would I wash them?
Not in the shower?
Sink?
In the sink? Yes, 100%.
I don't know.
These legs
Well,
get
what
dirty.
I do is after I shower up, I get out and put my foot in the toilet and use the water to really get the grime off. I wouldn't want to dirty up the shower with my leg
dirt.
My leg grime.
That fresh toilet water really cleans it, right?
Yeah, and then if anything's stuck on, you just flush it a couple of times, really rinse it out.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, that water in the back of the toilet's clean, so.
Yeah, and then you get a bidet and you got a little spray down at the end too. It's nice.
Yeah, for sure.
No spot rinse.
Oh my gosh. All right, and the last question of the night from Jay, aka Geardad. He says, what other gaming community should people go to if they insist on hating the Destiny community?
Oh, man.
Rocket League community is awesome.
Wait, are we trying to, like, hold on a sec. Are we sending them to a place where we want to show them how good they have it? Or are we sending to another community that's
I think
good?
the ones that are being salty need to go to Reddit and stay there.
I got another place for them, but I mean, I'm not going to say it on the show.
And I think the other ones, the normal people that just enjoy playing video games, should just join any of the communities that have been created through this little pocket of podcasts that we have. Um, so ours or Potato Thumbs or Anti Meta or any of those ones would be a fantastic solution because guess what? We play other games. We play a lot of stuff. I played Overwatch tonight with Jay and Beard and Fudd and Death, which is a Bads community member, an Amp community member, a Destiny Reset community member, a Just Some Guardians community member, and a Rebenit community member. So yeah, we're just all intertwined. So another plug for the Discord. Get in there. We're playing everything.
All the games, all the time.
Yeah, seriously. I've even set up a bot where I had to at everyone 3 times where you just click on an emote under a message and it assigns you a role so that when people are like, I want to play Apex, they at Apex and boom, everyone who plays Apex is tagged in that thing. And they're like, cool, yeah, I'll jump into some Apex with this dude. So,
If we're
also,
talking
feature.
yeah, Quack told me about it. It's great. Thank you, Quack.
That's pretty awesome. I was gonna say, if we're talking about communities based like around games, like if they want to go play another, game and focus only in that community, my own experience in Borderlands, the Borderlands communities and people I know, just like other people who I've met through. I mean, ironically enough, it's like a bunch of my Destiny friends that play Borderlands and stuff like that. All came from Borderlands, and we've talked about it and stuff, and they're like, yeah, you can find some pretty good people. I know I was actually in the Crucible Radio Discord, and I was talking about Titanfall 2, of course. And, like I said, like when the game came out 2016, it's over 3 years old now. You're just sitting in the lobby waiting to queue up to a match. You start getting these invites from random people who are also in your lobby, like your data center or whatever they call it. And which, by the way, that it shows you which data center you're in. And usually being that I am in New York, I'm usually in the New York data center. That one's fantastic, so good. So it's really funny that you get all these like invites for matches from people to be on their team and to or to play a private match, whatever. And I asked, I was like, in the Crucible Radio Discord, I said, hey, has anybody played like Titanfall 2? How's the community in general? Like, I've got my friends who play, I obviously don't have friends who play Titanfall 2 other than like Quack right now. But it's just
old game sold.
Like, yeah, I was like, well, I mean, like, how are the people, right? Like, if I get in there, is it going to be like Destiny where you get in and there's people who are pretty cool? You're not going to get like some squeaker who's sitting there dropping racial slurs and like cursing at you and telling you he's going to teabag your mother or something, right? Like, because that's happened a few times, and I'm just like there was one match, I forget what it was, and it was really odd that this happened in Titanfall, because when it was actually Bones, formerly of Crucible Radio, now of Gaming in Hell and at Everyone, he said, he came back and he's like, no, everybody that I played with randomly is cool, they're all right people. So it's funny because there was one match, and I mean, I've never had like bad teammates, never had hate mail or anything like that in Titanfall 2. So I mean, and I'm obviously like went into it not learning anything, not knowing, horrible at it. I've gotten better. But it's funny because there was one match. It was on like a Monday. I think I was after work, so it was like a Monday or Tuesday morning at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's just some kid who's like, I want to say he was probably like, he couldn't have been more than 9 or 10, and he's just like rapping about how he's gonna kill everybody's mother, something else. And it's like a real squeaky voice. I'm like, wow, this is I'm muting this guy. It was rough, but
which is funny.
Bad experience.
We have a middle schooler in our community who is very respectful, and he's a really good kid. And
Yeah, man.
we ran some EP with him this week. Him and his dad, Jay, was in there. Gear Dad was in there. Beard was in there. It was a ton of fun. And yeah, it's just like cool. And I had told his dad at one point, I was like, man, it's like really cool that you are comfortable enough with our community that you allow your son to be in here. And he's like 12 or 13, you know? So, yeah.
Even within our clan, like our desk, we got a couple people in IAP. Kids are old enough to play, and they play like they've played, Iron Banner with us before. And obviously, like, we're like, all right, so are we like, can we like curse or do we feel bad about this? Because usually we're a bunch of like foul-mouthed degenerates talking massive amounts of shit when we play. Quack's played run with Big Bear before. Yeah, and you have too, So it's just like we're just a bunch of foul-mouthed degenerates, like fucking talking all sorts of shit, and we kind of gotta like dial it back.
Yeah, even if you don't actually need to, like you feel that way,
Yeah,
that's what it is to just be a regular average human being. It's like, oh, there's there's a kid in here, an impressionable kid. I'm gonna not swear. Yeah,
I'm gonna be a good adult.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap us up for tonight. Do you guys have any shout outs?
Shout out to all the single mothers holding it down.
Oh, for sure.
Oh man. Well, as always, to my clan IP and BarelyADS being awesome. I don't think I have any other shout outs right now. I mean, Titanfall 2.
If you play Titanfall 2 on PS4, at Scott in the Discord, and he'll play with you. He'll figure out a time.
Yeah, we'll have to link up or something because my schedule's all fucking weird. But if you play Titanfall 2 and you want to squad up, just get at me and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, for sure. For me, shout out again to Saint 14 Project because they're doing just awesome shit over there. And then to the Overwatch squad, Reeb, Ferg, Death, Fudd, Jay, Beard, and then the two new people. I got a work friend in there and one of his friends. It's been a shit ton of fun. So if you're playing Overwatch on PC, hop in the Discord, get in there. And you can find that Discord at BarelyADS.com. You can find the show everywhere at BarelyADS. If you want to email us, it's BarelyADSshow@gmail.com. The band of the week was Southpaw Sonata. Find them at southpawsonata.bandcamp.com. Scott, where can we find you?
You could find me actually pretty much just in the Discord right now, a couple days a week, because other stuff's going on. At Slapshot Scott, the Ozer Zeros. I've been trying to stay off Twitter and social media because NHL playoffs and things don't work out.
Rip the Sharks. Sorry, my dude.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna get into it, but it's
you can't deal with all the crying Jordan memes.
It's not that, man. It's just there's a bunch of stuff with the way that series went down, and the officiating overall in the NHL is like horrible. And I'm not complaining about like the call of the game, but there's definitely throughout the playoffs especially this year, there's been like this penchant of, I guess, referees to not call play penalties on plays that result in serious injuries. And then, of course, the Department of Player Safety doesn't look at it. So it's one of those deals where it's just like, yeah, no, I'm not complaining about the rules of the calls. I'm complaining that people are getting fucking hurt and nobody's doing anything about it. So yeah, I saw a bunch of that and it was just like, yeah, I don't know. I've just been trying to stay off social media and stay out of those conversations because there's like the internet's a fucked up place, and there's a lot of fucked up people out there, you know. So it's just like I don't want to deal with these people. So you can at me, but the only thing I'll say about that is go Bruins.
You can find me anywhere. You can find me at Xanafan711. But more importantly, Quack, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, dude, for sure. And tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me at twitch.tv/IMakeEmQuack or twitter.com/IMakeEmQuack. I'm those places, usually making jokes in poor taste.
Sounds
Always
good.
poop jokes.
Always. Those are the best jokes, right? All right. All right. And
Pooping
listener,
just feels good.
I mean, it really does. It really does.
I'm not gonna disagree with that.
Oh man. And listeners, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next week with more gaming news. So have a good night, y'all.
Hey guys, let's get some cheeseburgers.
Oh, let's do it. All right. Peace out, y'all.
Bye.
Later, guys.
All right, let's clap again.
All right.
Again on where 4 would be. And we're gonna do this clap. 1, 2, 3. Dope. All right, and as usual, we're gonna raid just some Guardians.
Woo.
So dope. Quack, thanks again. I'm gonna get you a link here in just a second before we drop that
thanks.
audio.
Absolutely. It was a good time.
Hell yeah, brother. And yeah, we gotta get more Overwatch in. Like legit, we're in there like every night.
Dang.
Well, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna do counting and figure out if I'm ordering cheap parts this week or no. I'm probably gonna go play Titanfall.
Nice. I'm trying to get this link to work. Why? Come on. Why are you doing this to me? It says anyone with this link can view, but it doesn't give me the option to change it to edit. Advanced. Okay.
Steve, if you guys want to do, if you guys want me to get Gray Fox and Sire for the, is this what you want? Let me know. I'll work on that because I think the more I think about it, I think that'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah. All right, Quack, see if that will work for you. If you can drop your file in there, because the sharing has been funky with me lately.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it here. What's the show number here?
121.
Okay.
Dope. Oh, I gotta stop streaming.